can't live from this big satin. Somewhere we've been miles away. sitting on a rock and watch the heron fly. Feet in the water, half away. It has been such a beautiful day. A beautiful day. A beautiful day. I'm waiting for the stars to show. I'm waiting for the fire to glow. Feet in the water, half asleep. Let's burn one down and slowly disappear. 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 Oh, I've been hiding, hiding deep in the woods. Oh, I've been searching, searching as far as I could for some answers, answers to my riddles and my doubts. Oh, I might have taken the easy way out, but it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter now. Remember Nina and the waves, the East Coast for a holiday. I remember the way she laughed and those warm summer nights sleeping in the grass. Nina and the waves. Nina and the waves. Oh, I've been hiding, hiding deep in the woods. Oh, I've been searching, searching as far as I could. Oh, I've been hiding, hiding deep in the woods. Oh, I've been searching, searching as far as I could, but it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter now. Angel wings in the sky tonight.
정각 2시부터 행사를 시작할 예정이오니 장 외에 계신 분들께서는 행사장으로 자리해 주시면 대단히 감사드리겠습니다.
바로 시작하면 되죠.
네, 행사 전에 안내 말씀 하나 드리겠습니다. 먼저 행사의 진행에 지장이 없도록 핸드폰은 진동으로 해주시면 감사드리겠고요. 동시 통역기를 모두 받으셨을 텐데요. 동시 통역기는 한글은 3번 채널, 그리고 영문은 4번 채널로 지금 동시 통역이 진행될 예정입니다. 동시 통역기는 한글 3번, 영문 4번으로 맞춰주시면 감사드리겠습니다.
여기서 그냥
시작할까요? 네, 지금부터 행사를 시작하겠습니다. 오늘 콘수마 2023 세계 CM의 날 및 제10회 CM 포럼에 참석해 주신 여러분 안녕하십니까? 저는 사회를 맡을 남서울대학교 건축공학과 민경석입니다. 네. 먼저 오늘 행사 진행 순서를 간략하게 말씀 올리겠습니다. CM협회 배영희 회장께서 먼저 개회 인사를 하시고요. 이어서 준비된 순서에 의해서 특별 강연 1편, 그리고 각국 대표들이 주제 발표 3편을 듣는 순서로 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘은 정말 뜻깊은 우리 CM인의 행사인 것 같습니다. 우리 코로나 때문에 2019년도에 모여서 CM 행사를, 콘수마 행사를 했던 거로 기억하는데요. 벌써 2023년 오늘 드디어 이렇게 한자리에 모일 수 있게 돼서 더욱 뜻깊은 행사라고 생각됩니다. 먼저 오늘 이렇게 뜻깊은 행사에 한국 CM협회 배영희 회장께서 개회 인사를 하시겠습니다. 배영희 회장께 큰 박수로 단상에 모시겠습니다.
여러분 안녕하세요. 저는 한국 CM협회 배영휘입니다. 여러분들 아시다시피 세계 CM의 날은 원래가 3월 둘째 월요일이 세계 CM의 날입니다. 근데 저희들이 여러 가지 이유로 한 달 연기를 해서 오늘부터 내일까지 행사를 하게 되었습니다. 새삼스러운 얘기입니다만 CM의 세계화에 동참하기 위해서 제13회 CM 세계 CM의 날 기념 CM 서울포럼에 참석해 주신 여러분들 너무나 고맙습니다. 우리나라에는 CM을 도입한 지 벌써 25년이 넘었습니다만은 아직도 상당히 혼돈스러운 데가 있습니다. 이러한 때에 이러한 행사를 하는 것이 더더욱 의미가 있는 것이 아닌가라고 하는 생각이 듭니다. 왜냐? 외국의 구미 선진국의 여러 나라의 CM 단체 대표들이 이 자리에 다 오셨습니다. 그래서 오늘부터 내일까지는 그분들의 이야기를 많이 들을 수 있는 기회가 있을 겁니다. 그래서 우리 모두가 해외의 CM 발전에 관한 지식과 정보를 공유하고 해외 진출 기반을 다질 수 있는 그런 기회가 되리라고 생각이 됩니다. 지금 우리 주변에서는 사우디 네옴시티, 인도네시아 신수도 이전 사업, 또 개도국들의 그 스마트시티, 이러한 것들이 많이 회자되고 있습니다만은 아직까지 먼 이야기처럼 지금 그렇게 들리죠. 이번에는 그 인도네시아 공공사업주택부에서 신수도 이전 사업을 담당하시는 국장이나 실무자가 오셔서 내일 발표도 합니다. 그래서 어쨌든 CM 발전에 관한 여러 가지 지식과 정보를 공유하고 실제 프로젝트에 대한 정보를 우리가 얻을 수 있는 그런 좋은 기회라 생각해서 저희들이 준비가 부족하고 여러 가지 미흡합니다만은 오늘 내일 여러분들에게 정말 유익한 시간이 되기를 바라면서 제 인사 말씀 마치겠습니다. 여러분 고맙습니다.
네, 배영희 회장님 감사합니다. 지금부터 준비된 주제 발표 순서가 되겠습니다. 먼저 역동적인 미국 건설 시장과 CM 시장에 대해서 빌 벤 웨그넌 미국 CM 협회 전 회장께서 3시까지 발표를 해주시겠습니다. 빌 벤 웨그넌 회장을 큰 박수로 모시겠습니다.
Stand mic. And pin mic.
No.
Okay. Next page point. Next. Forward. Back page. Forward page. Page point. Okay. Next. Back page. Next page. Page. Point.
Okay, very good. If I need any help, I'll scream. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Margaret, again for the beautiful weather that you brought us today for this conference. As said, my name is Bill Van Wagenen, and on behalf of CMAA, including Andrea Rutledge, the CEO, Christine Oates, Chairwoman, we want to thank Chairman Bay and CMAC for inviting us to participate in this conference and to share once again in celebrating the 13th International CM Day. You know, it's been 4 years and since we've got together, and over those 4 years, a lot has changed. For many of you who know me, one of the big changes is my hair turned completely white in these last 4 years. I think maybe I don't age as well as my Korean colleagues here. But I can tell you one thing that hasn't changed in those 4 years is the importance of construction and our profession of construction management. And I'm very pleased to say that in the US, construction industry has fully recovered from COVID over the last 2 years. And our construction market and our CM profession are very vibrant and very strong. So today I'm going to give you an overview of our US construction market, our construction management industry, and give you an update on the activities of our organization, CMAA. So here's what I'm going to talk about. Giving an overview of the construction market, talk a little bit about the workforce, U.S. construction workforce, the impacts of COVID-19, and I'm very much looking forward to Caroline's more detailed discussion of what we've learned about COVID in the last 2 years. Then I'll talk about some of the major trends and challenges that we see in the U.S. construction market. Then I'll turn to our construction management profession, an overview of where we are in construction management in the U.S., an update on CMAA, and then I'll close with a few personal thoughts about the construction market and where I see the future of the U.S. construction market. Some personal thoughts on that. Here's something that I learned when I worked with the U.S. military for many years, what's called the BLUF, bottom line up front. Some key points that I'd like you to just keep in mind from my presentation. First is the U.S. construction market is very large, very strong, and very diverse. And as I said, fully recovered from COVID. The market is forecast to continue to grow. However, it does face a number of significant challenges, as we'll talk about in the presentation. Likewise, the construction management market is very strong, although it also faces a number of challenges, the biggest being right now the lack of resources to meet all the needs of construction management in the U.S. right now. CMAA remains the premier CM organization for construction management in the U.S., providing a full range of services and resources to help the profession of construction management in the U.S. And finally, there are a number of big unknowns, uncertainties, and risks that are facing our construction industry going forward. All right, let me talk first about an overview of the U.S. construction market. The U.S. market is huge, $1.8 trillion in annual revenue, 7% of our gross domestic product. We have about 7.8 million workers in the U.S. construction industry right now. And as you can see, as I mentioned, we have fully recovered both from COVID and then more significantly from the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And the U.S. market has grown at an annual rate of about 4.6 compound annual growth rate since 2010, and is forecasted to continue to grow into the future. The U.S. is large, but it's second behind China. China is the largest construction market in the world right now. This chart here shows you the 5 biggest construction markets, with China, U.S., followed by Europe, and then India. And as you can see, all of those markets have shown steady growth, particularly since 2010. And I'm sure we'll hear a bit more about some of those markets in later presentations. Here's a breakdown of the U.S. construction market by sector. As you can see, housing is the biggest single sector in the U.S., comprises about half the overall $1.8 trillion US dollars. Commercial and buildings is the second largest sectors, followed by power, then roads and bridges. In terms of a breakdown between public and private construction, the public market, which is that of government agencies, public funding, is about $350 billion a year annually in construction, and the other $1.4 trillion is in the private market. About 60% of the public market is focused on infrastructure, roads, bridges, tunnels, treatment plants, that kind of thing. Whereas I mentioned earlier, the private market, the major part of that market is housing, followed by buildings and then power. Several factors have helped to drive the U.S. construction market over the last few years, particularly since 2010. Two of those are financial. One is the pretty good economy we've had since 2010. A lot of that is driven by the second factor, which we've had very, very low interest rates up until very recently. And those have really helped to drive the growth of the U.S. construction market. Demand has also helped to drive the market, particularly in the buildings and commercial sector. And in fact, demand in the U.S. For construction generally always exceeds the available funding. For example, right now, or recently, the American Society of Civil Engineers issued a report card on the state of the U.S. infrastructure. They do this every 4 years, and they rate the state of the U.S. infrastructure and give an estimate of the needs. Their latest report card estimated that the U.S. infrastructure, now this is just infrastructure, needs about $2.6 trillion US worth of investment over the next 10 years in projects to get the infrastructure up to a proper level. So while we have a lot of work, there's the demand for construction in the U.S. is always going to be high, always going to exceed the available funding to deliver all of that work. But what's going to help quite a bit are some recent U.S. federal laws that were passed to add significant additional funding for construction in the U.S. The first of these is the Infrastructure and Investment Act, which provides $1.2 trillion US for infrastructure projects over the next 10 years in the US. The second is the CHIPS Act, which provides $280 billion US for research and construction of semiconductor manufacturing plants in the US. Excuse me a second, does somebody have a bottle of water? I forgot to bring mine up. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. Sorry, my mouth gets dry a lot. And the third is the Inflation Reduction Act, which, despite its name, is actually a significant investment in construction in the U.S., providing $391 billion for climate and energy projects in the U.S. We're already starting to see some of those investments in those three pieces of federal legislation rolling out as states are starting to use money from the Infrastructure Investment Act to upgrade roads and bridges, and states are also using money from the CHIPS Act to attract companies to build large chip manufacturing plants, and these are huge plants. Plants have been announced in places like Arizona, New York State, and these plants are on the order of $5 billion US. So that act and the funding from that is going to really help to drive some significant construction growth over the next 10 years in the US. We have a very large and diverse construction contractor market in the U.S. as well. Every year, Engineering News Record, one of our leading construction publications, publishes a list of the top contractors in the U.S. So the last list was in 2021, and the top 400 contractors generated about $425 billion US worth of revenue in 2021. Not surprisingly, a lot of that revenue was driven by buildings with 57%, followed by transportation with 15%. And as I mentioned, the contractors have fully recovered from the COVID 2020. And if we look and break down that top 400, the top 100, The revenues for those top 100 range from a low of 925 million to a high of 16 billion. So quite significant, and we have quite a diverse construction contractor community. But interesting to me, at least, there are no U.S. construction contractors within the 10 largest construction contractors in the world. If you look at list of that, 8 out of the 10 are Chinese. So the Chinese contractors are really dominating, at least in the world global market in terms of size. The U.S. is a significant player, but the Chinese really dominate that global listing of top contractors by revenue. So let me turn a little bit now to talk about our construction workforce. As mentioned, we currently have about 7.8 million workers in the U.S. construction industry right now, as shown by this curve, with a forecast of growth of another 100,000 this year in the construction workforce. In addition to that, there's another 1.5 million workers in the engineering and design industry, design and engineering professionals. So we have a very robust construction and engineering design workforce in the U.S. What's interesting, one thing interesting about these curves too is you can see how outside factors can really drive employment. Significant reduction in employment back in 2010. That was due to the financial crisis, really drove down the construction industry quite a bit in the U.S., perhaps in the rest of the world as well. A smaller reduction in 2020 from COVID. But as I mentioned, we have fully recovered from that. You can see the growth rate has been steady, and it's pointing in the right direction, up and to the right now. But as I'll talk about a little bit later, there are still some challenges and risks to that continued growth for our U.S. construction and our construction workforce. Not surprisingly, the workforce continues to change and evolve. Unemployment is less than 5%, so a very robust market. But we have a need for 550,000 additional workers this year, according to one of the leading construction associations. So if you then compare that back to my previous slide where I said there was a forecast of 100,000 additional actual workers, you can see immediately one of our significant challenges, which is a huge gap. 450,000 potential need for workers that we can't fill to meet all of the construction needs in the U.S. right now. 88% of the workforce is non-union, and that continues a trend that we're seeing in both construction and other industries with the gradual reduction in the amount of union workforce across all of our industries in the U.S. right now. The workforce is aging. About 1 in 4 of our construction workers are over 55. And as I'll talk about in a little bit, we are not seeing enough of the younger generation coming up to replace those who are retiring, the older workers who are retiring in the workforce today and going into the future. Engineering, likewise, is very robust, but again, have a lot of needs. Interesting, the Federal Reserve recently published a study that showed that engineering graduates from 4-year engineering universities are coming out and receiving the highest salaries of all 4-year programs in the U.S. today. So engineering is a very attractive profession, pays very good salaries. Part of that is because there's a real demand that's not being met in the U.S. right now for engineers and design professionals. So I mentioned about COVID. We in the U.S., and I'm sure most all of you around here in the audience, in your own countries, experience significant impacts from COVID. We remember those days, how uncertain everything was going forward. And I can say that COVID in the U.S. had a substantial but not catastrophic impact. In general, construction continued. Contractors and owners worked together collaboratively and figured out how to manage the impacts of COVID, how to meet all of the public health requirements for maintaining social distance, cleaning, mask, and all of the requirements that many of you may remember. Government struggled to try and figure out what were the appropriate protocols, and they changed quite a bit. But like owners and contractors, a lot of governments, local governments, work very hard to try and support. As an example, in California, I worked 2 years during COVID on a big wastewater treatment program in San Jose, California, $1.2 billion. In San Jose, the local city, as well as the state of California, issued regulations that required contractors to pay workers who needed to take time off for either COVID because they were sick with COVID, or they had to care for someone in their family who had COVID. And the regulations required the contractors to continue to pay them their wages so that obviously they could continue to receive an income and the construction could continue. So the government struggled, but they worked hard to try and support the construction industry during those tough times in COVID. One thing that COVID did do was really accelerate a long-term trend that had been growing, which was the way people work. And in the US today, hybrid working is here, and in my view, it's here to stay. Right now, only about 50% of office buildings in the US are fully occupied by people working full-time in the office. And despite all the efforts by owners and employers to get their people to come back full-time, people don't want to come back, and I don't think they're going to be coming back. And the implications for the commercial and building market are quite significant, both in terms of future construction. I think that market is going to significantly reduce over time, but also there are a lot of building owners and banks who are holding loans on those buildings that are potentially looking at a significant financial impact. Some people are predicting a major crash in the office building market over the next few years because of this issue of hybrid working and the fact that people just don't want to come back full-time to the office. I understand that that's quite different in the US from elsewhere in the world. I think places like Korea right now, you're back to almost 100% occupancy, but in the US we're not, and I don't see we're ever going to get there, is my personal view, and that of a lot of other people. So let me turn a little bit to talk about some of the trends and challenges that I see in the US construction market today. I'll start with trends, and obviously, there are multiple trends. A lot that I could have chosen from. These are ones that I feel are important and interesting to the construction market. Others may feel differently, but I think there's a lot here. So first is ESG, environmental, social governance. This is something that is gaining a lot of traction in the US business community today, and it's an effort to really push forward with building more sustainably, reducing energy and waste, building projects that really focus on providing positive societal impacts, and building with the best ethical practices. This is a growing movement in the US, and I think it's going to continue, and it's going to influence how we select and how we design and plan projects. The second is the use of technology. It continues to grow slowly, but the construction industry continues to adopt new technology, things like such as drones, modular construction, prefabrication, use of digital technologies such as BIM, digital twin with the support of GIS. But as I'll talk a little bit about a little bit later, I think we still have a long way to go in the adoption and effective use of technology. The third is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. That is also a major trend throughout U.S. industry, not just construction, but across all of industry. This is a movement that is very important, particularly to our younger generation, to build a much more diverse and inclusive workforce, to attract far more minorities, attract far more women, attract far more people that are different in many respects from us. And I think this is a real positive for the construction industry. One of the things it's going to do is it's going to really expand the pool of construction workers. And as I mentioned earlier, we really need a lot more construction workers and engineering and CM professionals than we have right now. So this has the potential to really help, but there is still a lot of controversy in the US around DEI. Supply chain volatility continues. We experienced that in COVID, but even though COVID has pretty much stabilized, we're still seeing a lot of supply chain volatility, with prices increasing due to inflation, delays in delivery, supply chain issues. Those continue in the construction industry right now. And last, and Chairman Bay mentioned it in his opening remarks, I was very pleased to hear that. Smart cities is a growing trend in the US and in fact, worldwide. Right now, smart cities is projected to be a $109 billion market by 2026. And we're starting to see more and more demand for smart cities across public, private, and even military. I'm working on a military program now. And the military client there is very much interested in building smart cities as part of their military facilities. Focus around smart cities is really to, as shown there, to integrate technology, sustainability, and to connect all of the people that are living in those communities together in a sustainable way, in an efficient way. So I think we're going to see a huge growth in the smart cities movement going forward. There are also significant challenges, and as I said earlier, there are many challenges. These are 5 that struck me as being significant to the U.S. construction industry. 2 of these I consider to be rather immediate, and we really need to try and solve these. The first of them is around the economic issues, the threat of recession we're hearing about, the continued inflation, supply chain issues continuing. The second is, as I mentioned earlier, the workforce gaps, the need for more workers, the need to replace workers who are retiring, the need to do more training. These are immediate issues, but unfortunately, in my view, these are issues that are really beyond the control of the construction industry itself to solve. These are more macro factors that are really impacting, and it's really difficult to predict how these factors are going to play out over the next years, but they will have a real impact on the shape of our construction going forward. The other challenges, I think, are longer term. One is the continuing stagnation, decline in construction productivity. Since 1970, studies have shown that there's been very little growth in construction productivity. And in some places, such as some studies have shown in the US, construction productivity has actually declined. It's unclear why. There are many reasons. No clear solution yet in mind for this. But this is a problem that's not only in the US, this is a problem that virtually all major advanced economies, construction industries face. Something like all but 4 of the 29 OECD countries are showing declining or very low growth in construction productivity since 1970. The other challenge is the challenge of megaprojects. Studies have consistently shown, and you can just look in the news on all these megaprojects being defined greater than $1 billion. 9 out of 10 of these projects go over budget by as much as 20% or more. Half of these projects are running over schedule by at least half the time. And again, there's no real clear cause, no real clear solution for this right now. But what is interesting is, despite all of the problems and the overruns in megaprojects, we continue to build megaprojects, and in fact, the forecasts are showing that we're going to continue to build more megaprojects, and the projects are going to get bigger over time. So that's just something that we in the construction industry are going to have to deal with, because I don't think there's a ready solution for that right now. So let me turn a little bit to the US CM industry, just a brief overview of where we are in the construction management industry. Like construction, program and construction management are doing very well and are showing solid growth, having fully recovered from COVID. E&R publishes annually a listing of CM and program management fees annually. So in the last issue study for 2021, $24.5 billion worth of program and construction management fees were generated by CM and program management professional firms in the US. Of that, over $16 billion was in program management, and almost $7 billion, I think it is, and nearly $8 billion was in the construction management profession. That breaks down, if we want to break that down between international and domestic, about $18 billion is in the US and about $6 billion internationally. So it kind of indicates to you, like our contractors, we are very much a US focused industry. We do a lot of work internationally, but unlike other countries, much of our construction business is really driven by demand and need in the US itself. And I'll tell you something that I think you all know. CM as a profession is a very good profession, pays well. The Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that there are about 478,000 CMs and program managers in the US today, with a forecasted growth of 8% going forward. And the pay scale for CMs is good. Median salary in the US for CMs is $99,000, which is actually pretty good for a lot of professions. And if you're interested in working in the profession in the US, get some of that high salary, here's a map that kind of describes where the salary distribution for CMs in the US. And you can see there that in the Northeast, places like New York, Massachusetts, that area, as well as the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, that's where the salaries are highest. But let me also forewarn you a little bit, where the salaries are high, so are the costs. And I can tell you from personal experience in trying to hire CMs, particularly in California, that housing is a major problem in trying to hire CMs in California. If you are not already living and own a house in California and you want to come and work in California, it is really difficult to have enough money to buy a house in California. And that's a problem that a lot of CM firms are facing in trying to hire CMs from outside California into that market. Okay, I know I've had a few negatives here. Sorry for the little bit of gloom and doom. Let me talk to something a lot more positive here, CMAA. Okay, and tell you what we're doing in CMAA these days. First, last year we celebrated our 40th birthday. Not quite as old as CIOB, but we're getting there, and CMIA continues to be a very strong and vibrant organization. We have 19,000 members today, 4,700 certified construction managers, 7,700 construction managers in training. We have 30 chapters spread all across the country, including a number of student chapters associated with major universities with CM programs. We have 2 annual conferences every year. We have an extensive body of knowledge and training resources to help our CM members and the profession to improve their professional knowledge of construction management. We have annual Project Achievement Awards where we recognize excellence in projects delivered by CM. Currently, we have 20 awards every year that we issue in a number of the major industry sectors, buildings, transportation, and so forth. And we make awards to small, medium, and large. So we try to recognize all of our types of projects and members in the industry. And then also we have a very active foundation that gets donations and makes award scholarships to a number of deserving students of construction management during every year. I mentioned about our body of knowledge. We have a set of standards of practice published that cover all of the areas of program and construction management. And we also have quite a library of other published documents available to all of our members. A lot of these documents are used by people that are seeking to get their certification in what we call a study kit. If you know those documents, you generally are able to pass the CM certification examination. We also have greatly expanded our certification program. Years ago, when we started the certification program, it was only for CMs, the CCM, Certified Construction Manager. And that would provide certification to someone who had at least 48 months of what we call responsible in charge, meaning you were directly responsible for making decisions on the project regarding cost, schedule, design, safety, and so forth. So 48 months, 4 years, but typically it took someone at least 8 to 10 years of working before they would have sufficient experience to qualify to get their certification. So CMAA has greatly expanded the program to try and provide certification opportunities to all our members at all levels of the CM profession, from new graduates directly out of CM university programs, right up through our most experienced CMs. So you see there we have 4 levels of what we call the construction manager in training certification, each one a progressively more added to the knowledge of the person getting the certification. And then recently CMAA has implemented a new certification called the Certified Associate CM, which is focused on mid-level CMs who have significant experience, but not yet quite enough to qualify for the full Certified Construction Manager, but are well on their way. And all of this program is really designed to help support all of our CMs at every level to get the necessary experience and training so that they eventually can qualify and get their Certified Construction Manager certification, CCM. So let me just provide a few closing thoughts. These are not CMAA's, these are my own, from having looked at the state of the market and some of the research I've done here. First, I don't think we're going to solve the productivity problem. I don't think we're going to solve the mega project problem. As I mentioned, the causes are multiple, they're unclear. And there are just too many competing interests in construction to really, I think, solve these issues. As an example, in the US today, any major project has significant environmental issues. And many, many projects have significant delays in cost increases because of the environmental issues they have to deal with. These are legitimate, but there are multiple competing interests around environmental issues that really help, that really drive a lot of the cost and schedule issues in construction. As we all know, construction is very unique. Unlike manufacturing, it may not lend itself to being a very efficient process because each project is unique, and it might be just something that's really built into how we do projects, and we're going to have to really just essentially live with it. I'm reminded in looking at this of the Hirschman dictum, which I didn't actually know about until I did the research, but many years ago, Hirschman said, essentially said, if people knew in advance what a project was really was going to cost, very often they wouldn't start the project to begin with. And I think that's true. And many of these mega projects really, for I think 2 reasons, don't really define what their costs are going to be accurately early on. One is because they don't know, because we don't know, it's difficult to plan. But there's also a political element because of what Hirschman said. If public agencies, for example, actually publish what they expected the true cost to be, there would be huge pushback from the public and others to even starting the project. And despite the problems with mega projects, most mega projects actually provide value. They need to be done. And so it's just something that I think we're going to have to live with and manage as best we can. Now, what happened here? Okay. There is a new book out there that I heard about. I've started reading, haven't finished, but I was intrigued because one of the authors is a fellow by the name of Bert Flyberg, who is considered to be the world expert in mega project issues. He's been studying it for many, many years, written many papers, written books, and he's got a new book out. As you can see here, How Big Things Get Done. I won't read the whole title. But in that book, he talks about mega projects and provides a number of recommendations, actually 11, for what he thinks we can do to try and help improve how we deliver mega projects. A few of the recommendations were a bit interesting to me. One was hire a master builder. Those of you who are historians of construction will know that that was the way we used to build things hundreds of years ago. But his view is, let's not keep parceling projects into packages. Let's hire a master builder. Second is, another is learn from those who have done projects like this before. Don't just start, go out and find out how a similar project's been done. Learn from them before you start your own planning. And another interesting is build using the Lego concept. Everybody know what the Lego game, you know, you put the little blocks together and you build boats and planes and buildings and stuff. But his concept is build in pieces. Don't try and plan and build the whole thing all at once. Build a part of it, step back, look, plan the next part, and then build the next Lego piece to the project. Okay, he's far more expert than I, but I think some of those recommendations are interesting. Whether they'll make a difference, time will tell. Okay. The other challenge is the workforce gap. As I mentioned earlier, this is a huge issue, and it's due to a number of factors, such as the aging workforce. We're not attracting enough immigrants, women, and others, minorities, into the construction industry. Not enough skill development. And I think that the low productivity and the lack of adoption of technology is also adding to the problem of the workforce. And while there are a lot of challenges, there are also a lot of opportunities still out there. As I mentioned, the US market has huge demand, far more than we can meet with our funding, but that's also true worldwide. I was intrigued by a recent World Bank report that was issued recently that estimated that the Ukraine rebuilding is going to need $411 billion US to rebuild that country after that war ends. That is really a major opportunity for the construction industry worldwide to help that country rebuild. And finally, let me sorry. Anybody got any ideas here? Oh, I'm sorry about this. Let's go back. I have one more slide. I don't know where I'm, okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, big unknown, artificial intelligence. I'm sure many of you have been hearing about this. Some people, experts, pundits out there are predicting that artificial intelligence is going to be a major transformation to mankind on the order of some of the other major transformations over the history of man. Time will tell. But I can tell you from what I've been reading and seeing that it is moving very, very quickly. And to just give you a personal story, in putting this presentation together, I spent quite a bit of time collecting research material from a lot of different sources on the construction market, CM, and so forth. And after I did that, I signed up for ChatGPT. Many of you may have heard ChatGPT. And I went in there and I typed, give me a 5-page paper on the state of the US construction market and the trends and challenges. And I was shocked, nailed it. It covered everything that my research had found, and it was very accurate, very few mistakes in there. So that's just one small example. But I think AI is real. I have no idea how it's going to impact on construction, but I'm certain that it's something that our industry is going to have to deal with, just like other industries across the world right now. I think it's here and it's going to continue to grow. So with that, I want to thank you very much for listening and being a great audience, and I really do look forward to the other presentations for the rest of today and tomorrow. So thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다. 요즘 우리나라 건설은 사실 조금 침체되고 좀 위기라고 생각합니다. 근데 우리가 그 해결책을 보려면 항상 미국의 건설과 CM을 보았고요. 오늘 빌 벤 웨그너 회장님께서 특히 트렌드와 챌린지를 통해서 많은 그러한 정답을 주신 것 같습니다. 그리고 회장님 3년 만에 뵀는데요. 스타일 멋있으십니다. 머리카락.
Can I stay here?
네. 그래서
run me out, or what do I do?
그래서 우리 우리 발표해 주신 회장님 다시 한번 큰 박수로. 네. 그러면은 발표해 주신 우리 빌 벤 웨그넌 전 회장님께 한국 CM협회 배영희 회장께서 감사패를 전달하도록 하겠습니다. 네. 감사패 빌 벤 웨그넌 미국 CM협회 전 회장 for the presentation going strong the US construction and CM market for the advancement of CM in the world. Thank you. 네, 감사합니다. 네, 다음은 특별 강연 순서입니다. 디지털화 자동화된 현장 건설 프로젝트 계획과 관리를 주제로 김태한 인천대학교 교수께서 발표해 주시겠습니다. 김태한 교수를 단상으로 모시겠습니다.
이거 들고 하면 돼요?
네, 알아도 돼요. 네, 말씀하시죠.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Taewon Kim, working in International University in Korea. Before joining the university, I was working in the Hong Kong, City University of Hong Kong. And I studied and received my PhD in the US, California. I was actually a member of the student chapter at the CMAA, so it was very honored to be here in front of you to talk about the topic of offsite construction project management. The title is actually Digitalized and Automated Offsite Construction Project Planning and Management. The topic is very big, broad, and people might think differently, expect differently. So just take my presentation as a researcher's view about this topic, okay? But I'm very happy to be here sharing my idea about this topic with you. So let me talk first about the current issues we have in Korean construction industry. Like the first presentations, we, like all over the world, we have also facing the labor shortage issues and then the aging issues. If you go to construction job site, you can see easily, right, more than half of the people, their ages are older than like 50s. The more problem, the worse than that, we actually have less highly skilled laborers, so we are losing our skill sets on the job site. Labor work hour is limited now to 52 hours, especially ready-mix concrete vehicles. They pour concrete on job site from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it actually limits the productivity also. And unfortunately, we are seeing more than 4,000 defect issues in our multi-family residential projects. And we are, we are counting like more than 400 to 500 fatalities a year on construction industry, which means that as we have 365 days a year, every day more than one people is dying on construction job site. And around half of the total waste are generated from construction job site. And my personal view is that all of these issues not easy to fix because this is due to the nature of how we work on job site. Right? So this is a current construction production system we enjoy, right? And we pour a lot of energy and effort to resolve these issues. But my view is the issues will not be dramatically changed because it's the nature of our industry. So Korean government is driving towards off-site production systems where you move part of the construction activities off-site, right, from the job site to somewhere else, typically factory environment. Right? We produce building components in the factory environment and then move the components to the job site and then install those into one pieces to make a building. That's the off-site construction. The benefit of this method is that we can actually reduce labor hours, especially highly skilled laborers. We don't need that many of highly skilled laborers on the job site if you transit to the off-site construction. So learning curve, people say the learning curve is normally 1 month, right? After 1 month of training, you can actually put those people to the job, and then they can be very productive. And with offsite construction, we can actually manufacture products in factory, and then this is related to naturally the standardization of those products, and then you can actually continuously improve the quality of those parts. That's another benefit of the OSC. And in controlled environment, people are getting safer, right? You don't need to go up at heights to install some pieces. You can actually produce building components on ground level, right? So people are getting safer. At least we have a roof. right? So more controlled environment is better. Also, sustainable productions. With the mass production, we can actually have a better chance to reuse, recycle wasted materials from the production of your components. And also the noise control, a lot of benefits. Different world, have different terms for this type of, concept, right? But all are very similar to my understanding. So MIC, I think this term is more popular in Hong Kong, right? So this is a modular integrated construction, or PPMOF, in the US, right? Or CII. Industrialized construction, prefabrication, modular construction, or MMC, which is modern method of construction. So all of these different terms we are using. I have actually conducted a survey before, asking people their perception about actual benefit and expected benefit. So expected benefit is very easy, right? So we can ask them, how will it be beneficial, right, in different benefit areas. And the actual benefit is about, their perception after they perform their projects. So, how do they feel like, right, after the performance. And my observation here is that, in all of these areas of benefits, including the site operations, improved scheduling and better quality, increased productivity, you can see the differences between these two bars, which means that there are gaps between actual and expected, right? It means that we are not gaining full potential of offsite construction projects, right? The actual benefit is lower than expected, right? We can see those gaps. So, as a construction managers, we need to find a way to fill this gap with better managerial tools and techniques, right? So this is how we deal with this new type of production systems. And how the question comes down to how to do that. I don't know actually, but one answer might be digitalization and automation of offsite construction project. Right? So this figure is from the Project Production Institute, and it suggests the two dimensions here. Right? One is on-site and off-site. The other dimension, particularly here, is automated versus craft or manual. Right? So according to these two dimensions, you can say that we have some construction project that's on-site and automated, and we have some project that's off-site and then manual. Right? My observation is that in Korea currently, most off-site construction project factories, right? Factories are off-site but craft, meaning that they are producing building components manually under the roof. Okay, so this way we are still, having some productivity issues. So my goal or my view is that we need to move towards the automated offsite construction project management. Okay, this is actually in line with the digital transformation. So on the left-hand side of this slide, this is reality, right? This is where we are in our project, right? It can be start of the project or in the middle of the project, right? And these days, we have a lot of good tools, good techniques for capturing reality and turning them into a digital data. Okay, so for example, we have good sensing network technologies. We have vision technologies. We have laser scanning and reality capturing technologies, and also natural language processing technologies. All of these technologies we can actually make use of to make the reality into the digital data. Okay, so this digital data can be interpreted by computer without the intervention of human beings. That's the benefit of digital data actually. And digital data can include the BIM, building information model, and also workplace model, process model, and supply chain models, etc. When we have these models digitalized, capturing the reality, then the artificial intelligence comes, okay, with data science. And AI can think automatically to do monitoring, assessing, predicting, and recommending. So AI can monitor the situation and assess the situation where we are, why it's happening, and predicts what will be going on in the future, right? In near future, in seconds, even, or in minutes, in years. And then it recommends the corrective or proper actions for us to do. Okay, that's automated thinking. And another part of the automation here in this slide is automated action, which is called also as actuating, right? So you can think of the robot arms, but you don't need to have a robot arms in your field. It actually has in two folds. One is that AI can ask the project manager or construction manager to do some actions, okay, with good information. For example, if some bad thing happens in your job site, then the AI or computer can ask you to evacuate people in time, okay? Or it can directly actually do some action. For example, it can open specific gates or close specific gates for your job site, or it can actually activate some alarm system or etc. Okay, so this is the second part of the automation in your job site. And building information model actually can play an important role here in the digitization and the automation of your project. I did some study using the real case offsite construction project cases. It's called the qualitative comparative analysis. The goal of this research I have done is to find some leading indicators that can cause a schedule delay in your project. I took the QCA or qualitative comparative analysis as a method because it can give you some idea about the combinatorial effects of different project conditions. Okay, so with the combination of some conditions, you can actually see some effects. And as a result, it shows in the table 6 here, I found like 3 different so-called recipes for the schedule delay. Okay, some routes, 3 different routes that leads to the schedule delay. And then interestingly, in all of these 3 recipes, you can see one factor of OF3, which is use of beam or in use of beam, right? So beam is actually playing a very important role. I didn't know actually before I did this study. So it means that if your project don't use a beam and you have little experience in offsite construction project, your project is likely to be delayed. Or if you don't use a beam and you have multiple types of like precast concretes, right? Multiple types of components to handle in your project. That's it reminds us of complexity, right? And then your project will be likely to be delayed. Okay, so beam actually is still playing a fundamental role in the offsite construction project. And let me talk about the project planning and management of offsite construction project. Let me talk about the phases first. Okay, so as a construction manager, we divide our project into different phases when we think that major deliverables are very different from phase to phase. And the way of work is very different from phase to phase due to the nature of your work. You need to manage it differently from phase to phase, right? Then we divide our projects into different phases. Okay, and traditionally in the stick-built construction system, how we divide our project into phases is like this, right? We have planning phase, design phase, construction phase, and maintenance phase, right? And we try to manage each of the phases. When we change our gears, shift our gears, and then move towards the offsite construction project management, some phases are very similar. So planning, design, and maintenance phases, right? But construction phase should be divided into several pieces of phases because the many parts of your building components are now produced in the factory environment. Okay, then it can be divided into two: manufacture phase and assembly phase. In the manufacture phase, the major deliverables are the produced components that are stacked on the factory. Okay, and then in assembly phases, major deliverables is your final buildings, where all of those components come and then installed into one piece. Okay, and because the location of production and the location of installation is different geographically, we need to add one more phase here that is called transport phases. Okay, transport phase is very important in offsite construction project management because the transport cost takes only 5 to 10% of your project, but the failure in management of this phase can lead to the disaster situation for your project. Okay, so let's assume that we are a construction manager. You are on the job site. Then you need to do some work on the job site, according to the schedule. And then what can you do when some components are not delivered on time to your job site? All you can do is just wait until the components is delivered to your job site. Okay, so it actually causes a lot of damages to your project. So, but we have little knowledge about how to manage this transport. So many researchers actually put research effort into offsite construction project management, but most of the effort is focused on manufacturing and assembly phases. But my expectation is that researchers are covering all of these phases with more and more efforts in the future. Okay, there. Okay, so let me be a little bit more specific, although we have limited time, but and let me talk about the managerial issues we need to overcome for each of the phases. Okay, so this is my personal view actually, but in the planning and designing phases, right, we need to solve some issues here. First, standardization. Okay, in offsite construction project management, now we have a standardized product. Okay, and the two designers, the issue is how to configure or combine these standardized components and making them into one building. So you need to distinguish between the produced materials in the factory and customized part you need to develop like in factories or either in factories or in job site. Okay, although we have a Revit as a good tool or other like BIM tools, we actually don't have a design tool that actually can deal with this issue to manage offsite construction project. And also the continuous improvement is another issue. And regulations and statutory approvals. Some owners are really resistant from adopting offsite construction system in their projects because they are not familiar with that. Okay, and municipalities also, the government officers are not familiar with that. So they are like hesitant in approving the project in this way. Okay, and it actually causes delays in your project. Okay, so this we need to resolve in some ways. And DFMA, design for manufacturing and assembly, is another big topic, actually. This is different from constructability, because now we need to think about the ergonomics in the factory environment and the construction environment in different ways. And aesthetics. Some people still think that the offsite construction produced buildings are ugly. Somehow we need to prove that this is not always the case. So that's the issue I can think of. In the manufacture phase, this is actually difficult part in the management of offsite construction project, because I see that in many cases, we have little knowledge about how to manage the manufacture phase. One is mode scheduling. So mode scheduling is very important because it affects the productivity of a production in the factory. There are many researchers optimizing the mode scheduling. My observation is that still construction managers or production managers use their guts or intuition to develop this schedule. Okay, and then we are human beings, right? So error prone, and then there must be a lot of other good solutions for scheduling modes, but we are actually losing those chances. And factory yard utilization. Your factory, one factory have multiple job sites, right? Multiple job sites. So you produce components for different projects, and then you stack those products on the yard. But we still don't know how to manage those yards. So we are spending a lot of land. Sometimes we feel difficulties in finding exact locations for each of those components and the quality management. So we need to know how to utilize our yard and factories. And quality and safety management in production is also another issue. And when we think about the factory environment, it should be very similar to the management sciences. They are dealing with the manufacturing industries like smart factories. Okay, somehow those two are very similar, but the major difference between the manufacturing industry and our industry is that each and every component we are making is very, very big and heavy to handle, right? We need to think differently in ergonomics of people who are making those components. Okay, so we need to specialize in our own way in the management of the factory production. And in transport phases, supply chain and logistics management is getting more and more important worldwide across all industries. But we are also, okay? So this is, we are facing actually different opportunities and challenges in our project management. So this is another big issue we need to solve. Routing and tracking. You need to make a decision on the routes of the delivery and then tracks where those trucks are. Korea is a little bit, Korea is a small land, so this is not a big issue actually in Korea. When you order some food, right, at night, and then tomorrow morning you open the door, those foods are in front of your door. So wonderful, right? So it's not a big issue. But when your country has a very big land, like mainland China or the US, then this is another issue you need to handle carefully. Okay. And component vehicle allocation. So you don't need to, you don't actually put all of those materials for one project into one trucks and then send them all to the job site. You need to somehow order multiple trucks and then allocate different materials to different trucks. And it affects the number of trucks, and it affects the installation sequences and productivity of your job site. Okay, so somehow we need to allocate components properly onto different vehicles. But still, we have little knowledge about how to manage these issues. Okay, and loading with stacks, because the truck has limited space, right? Somehow we make a stack of components to save the truck space, right? And the stacking is not that easy actually, because ill-stacked components actually causes some instability problem, and it affects the quality of your components. So when you deliver your materials to job site, they will find that there is some defects in your components. Okay, and also it affects the installation of your job site. When they have an installation sequence, and then your stack sequence is a bit different. And then the job site needs to handle those differences, right, to leave those materials onto the final location. And actually, I have conducted some research and then developed a tool to help construction managers in the transport phase. This is an example of how we can help people. So we have a Rabbit, using the Rabbit API, we can export some important component information from Beam directly. And then a tool, I developed actually this tool this tool actually can generate a transport plans. It can automatically allocate components onto different vehicles properly, and then develop a stack generations plans. And using the HoloLens or the AR gadget, you can actually see the transport plans on the real trailer, how those are stacked and then put. So this can help transport managers, construction managers to develop transport plans and then finalize those plans. And assembly phases, right? So in assembly phase, we would need assembly modeling and guidance for the installers. Assembly model is different from the BIM because the assembly model actually need to provide information of in what sequence you need to install and when and how. Okay, with those detailed plans, you can actually reduce the mistake, and then it can actually enhances the productivity in the job site. And installation sequence is still depending on the intuition of the construction managers. That's what I have observed. With the different types of materials or components, different locations, different logics for those components, there can be multiple way of sequencing the installation. But within a time pressure, the construction managers just manually, intuitively, they develop the installation sequence. Sometimes it's not productive. That's what I have observed. So we need to develop some management tools and techniques for solving these issues also. And project management information systems for offsite construction project might be needed because the information type and how we deal with the information might be different in this project. And safety and quality management in assembly is also an issue. So we need to put more efforts in dealing with this topic. Okay, so I actually went to the job site and measured how long it takes to install each and every part of your components on the job site, right? And then I asked the managers to, about their expected time for installing these pieces. And then the answer is like, it takes 3 to 7 minutes to install each element, right? So they plan based on that assumptions. But the reality is that my observation is that many are being installed outside those expected ranges. This is just one case study. But what we can say is that we need to have more real case data. We have little data about how we install, how we manage the installation of offsite construction project. Right? So we need to gather more data. We need to analyze those data. We need to acquire more knowledge about how we manage currently, and then how we can improve those management techniques. So that's why we study again and again, and then put our efforts into the research. And lastly, the maintenance phases. We need to gauge user satisfaction and then try to boost up the user satisfaction because they are final users of the building, right? So without their approval, it's very difficult to adopt the offsite construction in our industry. It's another story than the productivity thing, right? So we need to persuade people so that they can accept the concept of offsite construction. And post-occupancy evaluation we need to do, and we need to find some management technologies or techniques for reusing, recycling the wasted materials for circular economies. Okay, so all of these topics we need to, all of these are actually challenges that prohibits us from gaining the full potential of offsite construction project. So this is my last slide. In the older ages, right? I never seen this before, but we had carriages powered by horses to carry people. Okay, and some years later, car has been invented, right? When car was invented, people say that there are a lot of challenges to overcome. This is not possible, right? I prefer this one. Okay, so people resist from using those cars. And then now, what I can see is that there are all cars on the road. Right? We don't see actually these horse thing. I like horses, but we cannot see those horses on the road regularly. Okay, this is a paradigm shift errors. And now what I can see is we are actually moving into the electric vehicles era. Okay, so today is a paradigm shift from the cars to electric vehicles. Of course, we all know that there are a lot of challenges here, like battery issues and things, right? Safety issues. And some people just resist from using the electric vehicles, right? So drowsy or something like that. But this is a trend, right? We are moving forward, actually. I see very similar in the construction industry, actually. So we are seeing mixed project types in the job site, right? Stick-built types of job projects that are actually comprise a huge part of our project. Offsite is just small, right? Some people say that there are a lot of technical challenges. It's very difficult to solve or overcome. So we cannot actually go there that way because it's not economic. But what I think is that as a construction manager, we are all construction managers, right? So we have long been a contributor to the success of a construction project. And then it's somehow we are stuck in somewhere because due to the nature of the stick-built type of construction production systems. So now it's time for us to move to offsite construction. And then as a construction managers, we need to find some way to overcome each and every management challenges. Right? That way, that's what we need to do. I personally think. Okay, so way to go. Okay, that's all I have prepared for today's presentation. Thank you very much.
네, 우리 대한민국에는 중대재해처벌법, 그렇죠? Serious Accident Punishment Act라는 법이 많이 이렇게 우리 건설인들이 고민하고 계실 텐데요. 우리 확실히 김태환 교수님 연구 때문에 많이 그런 중대재해처벌법이 없어질 것 같은 생각이 듭니다. 그리고 특히 이게 배송이 좀 트랜스포트가 문제인데 우리 김 교수님 많은 연구하고 계시고요. 특히 우리 대한민국이 또 배달 쪽은 또 전 세계 최고 아닙니까? 그래서 이거 굉장히 좋은 그런 연구가 될 것 같습니다. 근데 하나 아쉬운 거는 현장에서 콘크리트 다 치고 먹었던 그 소주랑 맥주가 그 추억이 좀 없어질 것 같아서 이제 공장에서 먹어야 되지 않을까 생각이 드네요. 네, 다시 한번 감사드리고요. 우리 발표해 주신 김태환 교수님께 한국 CM협회 배영희 회장께서 감사패를 전달하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 감사패 김태환 인천대학교 교수 for the presentation digitalized and automated OCS project planning and management for the advancement of CM in the world. Thank you. 네, 감사합니다. 네, 다음은 순서를 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 잠시 브레이크 타임 가질까요? 네, 그러시면은요, 예, 잠깐, 한 10분 정도 쉬는 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 그러면 지금 시간이 3시 25분이니까 3시 3, 바로 시작. 네. 네, 죄송합니다. 우리 강연자께서 무대에 오셔서요. 계속 진행해야 될 것 같습니다. 잠시 조금 양해 말씀드리겠습니다. 네. 네, 다음은 인도네시아 건설 산업의 세계화에 대해서 다르마티 샵토디월 인도네시아 PM 협회 회장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다. 다르마 회장을 큰 박수로 모시겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable, respectful ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be here to present the Indonesian Vision 2045 and also the impact of the geopolitics right now in terms with the commitment of the government of Indonesia to build a new capital city in this moment that very hard to because of the pandemic and all of the things. I would like to present some of the thinking of the how we can manage the Indonesian development, especially in infrastructure. Indonesia is one of the G20 and has problem of in infrastructure development and is included the 3 countries with the worst infrastructure quality in the G20 along with India and Argentina. Infrastructure problems have made Indonesia economic growth less than optimal. Therefore, infrastructure development has been a top priority for the Indonesian government to address for the past decade and has been the cornerstone of President Joko Widodo administration. During his 8 years in office, the government has built 1,700 kilometers of toll roads, more than 4,000 kilometers of non-toll roads, 30 reservoirs, 80 ports, and 21 airports, with most of them being developed outside Java. As an illustration, Indonesia has only had 780 kilometers of toll roads in the last 40 years. Between 2022 and 2024, Indonesia needs more than 400 billion in infrastructure investment. Especially for 2023, the government has budgeted 25 billion in the state budget for infrastructure. There was the COVID-19 pandemic disaster, which stopped most of the world's economic activities in property, hospitality, transportation, tourism, logistics, and construction for almost 3 years in Indonesia as well. Also natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, forest fires, typhoon, liquefaction due to the climate change are causing more and more victims to our life. Indonesia Central Bank, Bank Indonesia, predict that the country economy is expected to grow at between 4.5 to 5.3% in 2023, one of the highest among the G20 members, and will be supported by several important sectors, including commodities, infrastructure development, tourism, and manufacturing of high-value products such as electric vehicle batteries. GDP has accelerated to 5.31% in 2022. It is a good achievement, bringing Southeast Asia largest economy back to pre-pandemic growth. The pace of growth in 2022 was largely supported by Indonesia's large domestic consumption and further bolstered by the export of commodities as global prices of key shipments such as coal, palm oil, iron, and relied upwards. The highest priority for the Indonesian government for 2023 will be to hold inflation at the 3%. And the last 4 years, it's the inflation rate only 3%. Yeah. It's also a good achievement. Further, weakening global economic activity and a slowdown in commodity prices could impact GDP this year. However, external demand for commodities and pent-up domestic consumption will continue to be the backbone of growth in 2023. Oh, sorry. In terms of portfolio management, it is necessary to realize that the foreign exchange reserve of all countries in the world, even if will be collected and if put together, will not be able to cover the costs due to the COVID and all other natural disasters. The costs that should have been spent to cope COVID-19 in the whole world are around 158.400 trillion rupiah or 11 trillion US dollar. And I heard from the news that the US government already reserved for about 3,000 billion US for the COVID. The cost and losses due to the Russia-Ukraine war to date, if taken into account, including damage to infrastructure building, have reached around 300 billion US dollar. Before it's too late and the risk still to lead to a big war, it's necessary to realize again in terms of world portfolio management that the impact of the COVID-19 and natural disasters should be the first priority. EMP on the March 2022 sent a letter to Indonesian government, and as the president of G20, we asked the president to do something about to stop the war, and it's on June. Our president come to the Ukraine and Russia as well, and hopefully the war will be stopped in recent day. And let's, with a spirit of CONSMART 2023, all participants reshaping the spirit to build the infrastructure and leaving the spirit of destroying the infrastructure by supporting the war. Indonesia's position geopolitically is fixed as a non-aligned country and remain oriented towards economic development, balance and peace in Southeast Asia in particular and the world in general. International geopolitics. Geopolitically, Indonesia has tried to take a non-alignment position in order to get sustainability in building infrastructure for the welfare of the Indonesian nation and state. In the discussion of this presentation, with regard our profession is project construction management. The discussion will revolve around the relationship between international geopolitical status and its relationship with project management, portfolio management, and program management. This non-alignment attitude is the long-term has benefited Indonesia's position. Indonesia's culture attitude is quite careful and regulates all assistance from developed countries so that it's not politically binding in the long term, but economically long-term ties will follow international trade law and bilateral and multilateral agreement. It is hoped that one day this non-alignment attitude will be effectively in making the world peace, where cooperation between countries is based on civilized humanity, mutual respect, and mutual benefit. We should try to penetrate and applying the principle of project management in managing, arranging, and controlling the one world, which basically one unity. So if we enjoy the benefit and profit together for the common prosperity. Of course, all countries should apply portfolio and program management for the interest and benefit of each country, but the management of world prosperity is managed properly by applying project management principle, especially portfolio management. We will review the impact of the problems faced by life in the world using the rule of project management. And this presentation will be closed by the report and the strategic plan for infrastructure development in Indonesia. Portfolio management. Portfolio management is the art and science of selecting and overseeing a group of investment that meets the long-term financial objective and risk tolerance of a client, a company, or an institution. It requires a basic understanding of the key element of portfolio building and maintenance that make us for success, including asset allocation, diversification, and rebalancing. Investment portfolio management involves building and overseeing a selection of assets such as stock, bonds, and cash that meet the long-term financial goals and risk tolerance of an investor. Program management is a group of related projects managed in a coordinated manner to obtain benefit not available from managing them individually. Program management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to meet program requirements. Program management is the management of multiple related projects at the same time. A program is a set of interconnected projects overseen by a program manager whose main goal is to ensure that all works ties back into company-wide goals and objectives. Program management is the simultaneous management of multiple related projects. A geopolitical overview of the Russia and Ukraine war. The war that has been going on since February 2022 has not been seen the resolution for ending the war. The Ukrainian side in May 2022 claimed losses due to the war of around 7,000 trillion rupiah or 466 billion US dollar. At the United States Forum in March 2023, the Ukrainian party demanded compensation from Russia in the amount of US dollar 140 billion. It is possible that this number of value is only related to the loss of infrastructure destroyed by the Russian side and does not include the loss of war equipment for Ukraine and NATO. The Russian side has not published the cost of the Ukraine war, but for the sake of awareness of portfolio management, we assume that the Russian side has spent 1,000 billion US dollars so far. In terms of project management, losses for both parties, including NATO, are around US dollar 2,000 billion. In terms of portfolio and program management, there has not been any benefit and gains from the two warring parties. Question from the project management side. How much more will it cost to finish this war? How will bear or pay for this war? And where will the funds come from? It is clear that each party will not want and will not be able to finance this war, especially to finance the opposing parties of the war. It should be noted that the infrastructure and armament that were destroyed were the production value-added working result of both Ukraine, NATO, and Russia over the last 50 years. How long can a country generate an added value of 2,000 billion as a result of the war? Even so, it is forced to sell its natural resources, and this is if forced to do so, will add to the damage to the nature. If the war continues, it will drain all human wealth on Earth worth 2,000 billion per year. Is there any profit or benefit for the warring parties? Or should we all admit that this mistake was made by humans because they were not aware of the need to manage a portfolio management for this world, for the welfare of prosperity of human life in one unity of the world? The threat of geopolitical tension in the South China Sea. It is assumed that the cost of adding safeguard and security equipment in order to maintain compliance with the strategy of both parties is around 100 billion per year. If there is maneuver error, and a war occurs, it will involve funding that is far greater than potential for oil contained in the South China Sea itself. Portfolio and program management analysis. Why don't we share the dispute area together? Each party who feels that in terms of the continent self-holder has the right to be given a proportionate share according to each wide area's own. In any way, actually with common sense and international law that has been mutually recognized, a fair distribution can be carried out through negotiation involving interested parties who also have military strength that has been securing the area. This will be far more beneficial for human life on Earth than racing to strengthening our respective fleets for the next 10 years with the risk that if a war occurs, it will burn the world's wealth, which we have together around $2,000 billion, and what we will get is only the destruction of the Southeast Asia region. The threat of geopolitical tension in Taiwan Strait, portfolio and program management analysis. At present, there is practically no difference politically between China and Taiwan. Both have recognized individual property rights, and any business can be developed in both countries with the system in place. Historically, however, the Taiwanese are indebted to the US for securing and in particular obtaining convenience in the development of various industries with high technology, especially in the IT field. Taiwan, as a semiconductor or chip producer, controls almost 60% of the world's chips production. Taiwan, geographically positioned, which is very close to China, is indeed, no matter how strong the US fleet, will not be able to secure the island of Taiwan. In the event of a war in Taiwan Strait, which of course we avoid together, Taiwan will be destroyed regardless of who will win the war. The Taiwan issue should be resolved peacefully, portfolio and program management design, and mutually beneficial for both the US, China, and Taiwan itself. If the Cold War in Taiwan continues, then all three sides will be forced to spend funds including the manufacture of weapons, nuclear submarines, and developing of new war bases of about $100 billion per year. Who will pay for these expenses? And the next one is the threat geopolitical tension on the Korean Peninsula. Portfolio and program management analysis. The two nations of North Korea and South Korea actually come from one nation. The two countries separated by agreement at the end of World War II. If it cannot be united, it should be at least work together for mutual benefit and help each other. Looking at the war damage data in Ukraine, if there will be a war on the Korean Peninsula, which of course would involve other major countries, it can be imagined that the joint losses would be around $3,000 billion in just the first 1 month. Which party or which country is capable of financing the damage and losses caused by this war? There are no reserves of natural wealth that can finance this damage. There is only mutual regret why this war should happen. It is much better to implement stakeholders management with the agreement of the big countries related to North Korea and South Korea. The two countries share, help each other for the sake of common prosperity. Indonesian vision of 2045 infrastructure development. We have our strategies development. We have 4 pillars in development of Indonesia 2045: the human development and mastery of science and technology, sustainable economic development, and the third pillar is equitable development. And the last one is national resilience and governance. The program consists of impartial acceleration of Indonesian citizen education, increased role of culture in development, increased contribution of science and technology in development, increased community health level and life quality, and workforce reform. And the sustainable economic development consists of increased investment and economic competitiveness, acceleration of industrial and tourism development, maritime economic development, reinforced food security and farmers' welfare, strengthening energy and water security, commitment towards the environment. And equitable development is acceleration of poverty eradication, equal opportunity and equitable distribution of income, equitable regional development, integrated and equitable infrastructure development, and national resilience and governance is substantial democracy, institutional and bureaucratic reform, enhanced national justice, systematic and anti-corruption, free and active foreign politics, free and advised foreign politics. And also the technical development, we realized that we have to learn from the developed country, especially from Korea, Japan, and US, and the other developed country. And also we have the plan to using the Internet of Things, the telemedicine, nanotechnology, cloud technology, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence. As Professor presentation, we have also targeting the artificial intelligence to have the facility for the development of until 2045. And also because Indonesia is a very big country, the area more or less same as the US, but 70% of our area is water and sea, and only 30% is land. But actually the span from west to east is the same as from British to Poland, or same as US nation, United States. And we have cultural development is increasing role of culture in development through the capitalization of virtuous values of the nation culture and the development of work ethic. We have to learn from the other country, and we decide to use Pancasila as life philosophy of the nation, and we appreciation of diversity and powerful national character and maritime culture and knowledge, education as intercultural mediator, and local culture regional identity. That is our strategic for development. And sustainable economic development. Indonesia becomes a developed country and one of the world's largest economy driven by investment and trade, industry, tourism, maritime, and services, as well as supported by reliable infrastructure and strong resilience on food, water, and energy. Commitment towards the environment is maintained for sustainable development. And we also learn from the Korean K-pop and how to generate the creative and digital economy. In 2025, creative and digital economy of sources of economic growth. 2035, creative and digital economy as drivers of innovation-based economy, and 2045, Indonesia as one of the world-class creative and digital economy centers. So enhancement of the structure and creative and digital economy, development of creative human resource competence, and increase state of export-oriented creative industry, and enhancement of world-scale creative and digital city or cluster. And as primary tourism destination, we plan to have we have 17,000 islands, more than 300 ethnic groups, more than 700 languages, World Heritage Site, as well as the third biggest biodiversity is a great potential for tourism development. We mentioned that with this 300 ethnic group, more than 7 languages, we can have the nation-wide unity for over 70 years, and we hope that it can be sustainable. So the target right now is 21.6 million in 2020, but in 2045, we plan to have 73.6 million tourism. And towards the world's maritime axis, right now, the contribution of maritime economy to GDP increases from 6.4% in 2015 to 12.5% in 2045. So the maritime economy increasing the role of maritime economy to around 12.5% from GDP. So we will build the maritime culture, getting excellent quality of maritime human resources, innovation in marine technology, and strong maritime cultures as the basis of maritime culture. Maritime power, actualizing strong and capable maritime security and defense to face regional and global challenge. Enhancement of water security as one of the environment strategy. Water security is increased to support strategic sectors, disaster mitigation, and increase community welfare. So we will develop of processing and water quality enhancement technology that is cheap and environment friendly. Development of rainwater harvesting, improvement of land management along river basin area by involving the community, development of city forests, integrated and sustainable management of lake, swamp, pond, river, and other land water, forest and land rehabilitation along priority river basin area, development of infrastructure to prevent erosion and sedimentation, development of water resources infrastructure, implementation of water use efficiency principles through reduce, reuse, and recycle principles, improvement of hydrology, hydrometeorology, and hydrogeology information system, and development of river basin area and water resource monitoring system. And regarding the energy security, we will increase the renewable energy from 5% from 2015 up to 31% in the 2050. But the rest, we will still have natural gas, and we have coal, 25%, and oil, but the possibility of using nuclear energy if other energy sources do not meet. But this is the last choice if we build nuclear energy if it's needed by the infrastructure development of the country. And we also have a commitment towards the environment. green economy, signed by 41% of emission reduction from baseline scenario, environment quality index more than 80, and sustainable biodiversity utilization. Biodiversity as the basic asset development, increase air quality, improvement of land coverage quality, increase water quality, greenhouse gases emission reduction, biodiversity-based national pharmacy industry, carbon sequestration ability, renewable energy development through local eco-resources, and increase material industry. And one of the problem is we have to equitable development, expand with more income equality across all income class, decreasing regional disparities, equitable infrastructure, as well as extreme poverty eradication. This shows the map of the west area of Indonesia and the east of area Indonesia. And Java, this 70 years of our nation is concentrated in Java, and the government tried to build the other island and prioritize in the eastern area of Indonesia and Papua. Papua, the eastern island, will be a national food basis, resources-based economy sector. Bali, Nusa Tenggara, Maluku will be the present for international tourism and national fishery basis, and Sulawesi food industry basis and gate for eastern side. Kalimantan, the island, the center of Indonesia, which the new capital city will be built. It's a manufacturing industry and national energy basis. And Java will be the trade center and services basis, and Sumatra, new industrial basis and gate for to Asian region. Equitable integrated infrastructure development, finishing main road construction in all island, rail-based transportation and high-speed train to anticipate mega-urban and urbanization, air and sea transportation to support inter-region mobility and good distribution, sea transportation as the main element of maritime connectivity, development of aerotropolis area, fulfillment of digital and virtual connectivity for all community, fulfillment of people access to basic infrastructure. Logistic costs in 2045 fell to 8% of GDP. Right now it's around 20% of GDP, only for the logistic cost. Okay, the development is increasing physical and virtual connectivity, promoting equitable development between regions, fulfilling basic infrastructure access, supporting urban and rural development, and anticipation of climate change. Strengthening national resilience and governance. National resilience and governance become stronger with better quality of democracy, institutional and bureaucratic reform, development of national justice system and anti-corruption, implementation of free and active international politics, and strong security and defense. Foreign affairs, the implementation of free and active international politics. This will be the strategy for Indonesia, increased role in the regional global of the United Nations. Indonesia conducting international politics that is free and active to build just world governance, becomes a developed and independent country and one of the most influential country in Asia Pacific. International politics is also directed to implement World Maritime Access Roadmap and establish regional arrangement, including maintaining Asian centrality. And we also have defense and security, inclusive community order, strong defense, dignified human security. In inclusive community order, strong defense, and defense. So Indonesian identify beyond ethnic, tribe, religion, race, and group identity, participative community order based on fairness and equality in unity and in national insight. Strong national defense power based on smart power, which has expenditure of 1.5% GDP. And this, in the defense, most of the Indonesian collaboration with the Korean technology. Thank you for the Korean nation. Strong military force equipped with advanced technology armament, defense industry that is progressive and healthy, as well as being the main actor in global supply chain. Dignified human security, safety, and peacefully living in Indonesia as civilized human based on the spirit of respect, human security that integrates with national security based on humanitarian values and partnership with all elements of the nation. So that is the politics strategy to enhance the Indonesian development until 2045. And the analysis in terms of strategy, the most beneficial thing is that all the remaining funds and power on earth are concentrated to restore the welfare condition due to the COVID-19 attack, which has not recovered in the global economy. It should be noted that the impact of COVID on the global economy is worth $10,000 billion in just 3 years. The impact of $10,000 billion until now has not been clear sources of financing to overcome it, and sooner or later it will burden all of us as managers of the world, which in reality is one earth and one sun. It needs to be anticipated to prevent war and carefully calculated due to the damage of war itself, because human prosperity reserved from natural resources in the form of oil and gas and forestry will run out within the next 15 years. Need to be aware of the threat from natural disaster, especially earthquakes, forest fires, flash floods, and typhoon and other natural disasters, which are calculated at around $200 billion per year. Portfolio management, the greatest benefit is achieved if each country in both the US and East Asia immediately establish peace and eliminates political domination, competition, and design mutually beneficial for global collaboration. In terms of program management, in the Cold War, if the Cold War can be eliminated, all parties involved will be benefited maximally, and all added value generated can be used optimally to develop their respective countries. In terms of project management, funds used to build armed force in each country to outperform each other. Both traditional weapons and nuclear weapons can be diverted to build civilian buildings and infrastructure that are useful to improve human welfare and prosperity on Earth to the maximum. Conclusion. Indonesia's plan to build with the 2045 vision can be achieved only if there is a process of improving global prosperity, because basically the world consists of only one Earth and one Sun. Geopolitically, stability in Southeast Asia and East Asia is very influential on the progress of development in Indonesia. Climate change that causes more or less disaster will be a common burden and must be overcome and resolved together. The impact of the COVID-19 virus, which until now is worth 10,000 billion, in the real terms, we have not been able to overcome this burden of the world, whose the solution still requires the support and the progress of increasing added value globally for the next 10 years. The cost of natural disaster that we face together globally is $200 billion per year. Each country must allocate the risk faced according to geographical condition and possibilities that will be faced. If the Cold War continues, the cost incurred for three regions in Southeast Asia, and East Asia, namely the South China Sea, Taiwan Strait, and the Korean Peninsula, are correlated at around 300 billion per year. It is expected that there will be immediate consolidation of all stakeholders from the world and found solution in project management, awareness of implementing portfolio management and program management to find solutions to reconcile the world, building strategy for the greatest benefit for the one Earth, and bringing benefit to the prosperity and well-being of human on Earth. 감사합니다. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 인도네시아 인프라 시장은 정말 무한한 발전과 성장이 있을 것 같습니다. 이런 게 모든 다 우리 CM의 기술력에 있어서 가능하다고 생각됩니다. 자, 우리 발표해 주신 다르마 회장께 한국 CM협회 배영희 회장께서 감사패를 전달하도록 하겠습니다. 네. 감사패 다르마티 삽소디와 인도네시아 PM협회 회장 for the presentation International Geopolitics Toward the Enhancement of Indonesian Construction Industry for the Advancement of CM in the World. Thank you. 네, 감사합니다. 저 이제 한 주제 마지막 남았기 때문에요. 쉬는 시간 없이 바로 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 네. 저 우리 CM은 공기 단축이 생명이니까. 네. 바로 시작하겠습니다. 다음은 오늘 마지막 발표인 홍콩의 건설 동향을 주제로 프랜시스 첸 아시아 태평양 PM 연맹 회장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다. 프랜시스 첸 회장을 박수로 무대에 모시겠습니다.
Next page. This one. Page one. No? Oh yeah. Like this. And yeah. Chairman Bai, here. Chairman Bai, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Francis Chan. Good afternoon. My presentation separates into three parts. The first part is about the impact of COVID-19 in Hong Kong construction industry. The second part is about the use of new construction methods and technologies. And the last part is about future planning, strategies, and project opportunities in Hong Kong. Okay. During the past 3 years, COVID-19 sweeping across the world. forcing people to reconsider a wide variety of practice, from work to leisure, from travel to daily tasks. This not only impacted the life of individuals, but it also impacts countries from economic standpoint, bringing an array of economic sectors to an almost complete standstill. Okay. Many places adopt different methods to deal with the COVID-19. Hong Kong was no exception. In response to epidemic, Hong Kong law enforced a complete lockdown like other countries. Instead, a series of measures has been implemented, which includes public gathering limits, suspended schools, special work arrangements such as work from home, and isolated at quarantine centers if affected. In the face of the increasing number of confirmed cases, many frontline workers or engineering staff were unable to attend work due to compulsory isolation at the quarantine center or home quarantine if they were infected or in close contact with COVID-19. This affected the manpower significantly, jobs in the construction industry. Overall productivities also dropped about 30%. In addition, the Hong Kong government announced one of the quarantine arrangements to prevent the spread of virus. The government encouraged people to work from home. Many organizations, including building developers, construction companies, to follow. Therefore, all site staff, including management and technical professionals, such as project managers, engineers, and architects, all work at home. They were unable to conduct on-site inspection as scheduled. So the progress of project was seriously affected. Due to the delay of project and the site closed, the site operating costs were significantly increased. Because most of mainland's factory workers were from northern China, where the coronavirus from suspended to be from, the workers must undergo 14 days mandatory quarantine. As a result, most of the manufacturing industry almost completely stopped production. In addition, in order to prevent the spread of the virus, the Canton government asked the business to suspend operations, which including quarantine locations in the Pearl River Delta. This led to reductions in the supply of stone. That indirectly affected the production of concrete products for construction projects in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, many truck drivers traveling between the mainland and Hong Kong has been infected. In response to increasing infections among Hong Kong truck drivers, the Shenzhen government port and entry and exit office issued a series of tough measurements on cross-border truck operations. About 50% of the supply chain of the building material has been broken. Just a small number of materials were left in some production lines. In addition, China coronavirus lockdowns also jammed the ports in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. This made the supply chain into chaos at both places. Due to the significant reductions in the supply of raw material, like fabrication components, sand, gravel, stones, and mortar, timber, etc. So most of site works could not continue, even if there were 30% remaining works. Many contractors, especially subcontractors, were facing difficulties in cash flow because reduced productivities of the site work. So the revenue is also reduced because of the delay of projects. In addition, many government personnel and employees of kinds work from home. This led to delay in the approval of payments, directly affected the cash flow as well. Okay. Under the novel coronavirus epidemic, many industries in Hong Kong have been affected. The Hong Kong government launched 2 rounds of anti-epidemic fund. The Hong Kong government provided a total of over 5.5 billion Hong Kong dollars to support construction workers and other enterprises. It strengthens their epidemic prevention as well as facing economic difficulty. Normally, government works contract generally contains provision stipulating completion deadlines to ensure the timely completion of projects. In case of any delay, contractors are required to apply for an extension with convincing reasons. During the COVID-19 period, the government understands the difficult situation. From project design, manpower deployment, their supply of material to the construction process, all these aspects affected the project progress. Because of substantial impacts caused by different waves of the epidemic, the Development Bureau of the Hong Kong government announced that for the in-progress government work contracts, the government flexibility handle extension requests from contractors for up to maximum period of 6 months. If contractors applied for the government anti-epidemic fund, government quickly dispersed the money. The company of the construction industry used this money to purchase such as masks, hand sanitizers, and disinfectant items as soon as possible, then distributed to the employees for their use and also for cleaning and disinfection of site areas. Before COVID-19, many contractors might know that new technology might be useful for the construction process, but many of them do not want to pay extra investment or learn about the new technology, especially for elder engineers and the small company. But during the hard time of the COVID-19 period, they had to learn new technology to help this site work move. Today, most of them are already more understand or even familiar to use these technologies. This situation allows many industries to use like Zoom and Teams for communication, teachings, and meetings as a normal practice. A construction project involves different kinds of professionals, practice, and trades. Site management is always hard work and take time. Traditionally, the problems are solved mainly through physical site meetings with different stakeholders. In Hong Kong, many construction contracts only allowed a tight schedule to complete, especially residential and private projects. So many site activities need to operate simultaneously within a limited site area. Due to many site activities working at the same time, This makes poor working environments, although there are site safety regulations for contractors to follow. However, in the poor working environments, the site accidents could not be avoided. Many construction wastes are also generated because of the methods of construction. Although today's MIC provides a solution for several problems in the construction sectors, it was not so popular in Hong Kong before COVID-19. Even many promotions from governments or related associations. As mentioned previously, during the almost 3 years COVID-19 period, the industry faced a lot of problems such as lack of workers, shortage of construction material, etc. In order to complete project in time with the required quality, more building developers and contractors try to adopt MICs in private projects. Most of them find that MIC methods not only save construction time with better quality, if compared with traditional methods, MIC methods can also minimize unpredicted problems, such as reducing injuries and accidents. During the modulars constructed in the factory and site works can be operated at the same time. So the construction speed also increased and shortened the project lifetime. This also helped to solve the huge housing demand problems in Hong Kong. Sorry. Multi-trade integrates mechanical, electronical, and plumbing is considered a continuous of the success of MIC for the construction industry, which refers to the integration of multi-trade building services components into a single assembly of prefabrication modules. Similar to MIC, MEP is manufactured in factory and then transported to the site for collection of modules. Various trades of building service only need to install it in situ. The MEP construction method has the benefit of reducing on-site labor demand and not being affected by site constraints. With the adoption of these two innovation construction methods, it can not only contribute to enhancing the quality of construction and mitigating environmental impacts like carbon emissions and waste generation, but also benefit in helping relieve the challenge that the Hong Kong construction industry is facing with, which including the demand of workforce, aging of skilled labor, and site safety, high demand of construction productivity, especially in the challenging time. Due to the impact of the pandemic in Hong Kong, the construction industry not only speed up to adopt new construction method, but also speeds up the adopt new technology. Like the IoT described the network of physical objects embedded with sensors, software, other technologies in collected and exchange data with devices and systems over the internet. So big data, mobile technology, and other physical things can share and collect the data through IoT. In addition, with cloud-based IoT applications, business users can quickly enhance existing processes such as supply chain, human resources, real-time monitoring system, etc. BIM. As you may know, BIM is a process that has revolutionized how construction projects are planned and executed. It allows the construction manager to create a virtual project models that can be analyzed and modified before any physical work begins. So many of the inefficiencies and problems that arise during the construction process can be enumerated. Digital BIM models allow for sharing, collaborating, and visualizing that paper drawing sets do not. With cloud-based tools, BIM collaboration can occur across all disciplines within the project, and now working teams to share project models and coordinate in planning, ensuring all stakeholders have insight into the project. Cloud access also allowed project teams to take the office to the field. Project teams can review drawings and models on site and on their mobile device, ensuring they have access to up-to-date project information anytime. Avoiding last-minute change, minimize unforeseen issues by enabling easy reviewing and commencing across multiple disciplines. This closer cooperation with contractors can lead to the reduction in risks, reduce opportunities for claims, and reduce any company using outdated information. AR and VR allows architects and engineers to take their design to the whole new plan, opening far-reaching opportunities for construction industry. AR apps can see and interpret the outside world in real time. Construction company can employ AR, VR technology to plan a project from the beginning to the end, streamline the process involved in most building projects, and decrease guesswork, thus saving times and money while providing substantial design insights to clients, architects, engineers. Everyone in a project team are on the same page. Construction is a high-hazard industry and involves many factors that are potentially dangerous to workers. Companies can use VR-based training solutions. Staff can recreate real-life events in a fully immersed, risk-free environment. Using a combination of BIM technologies and immersive VR headsets, professionals can get the better sense of space before the problem physically exists. It can also use the smartphone or tablet twin BIM, simply merge the BIM model into the physical site, allow the stakeholder to see and interact with the virtual model. AR, VR technologies are effectively and easy to use for the site inspection, staff training, so many contractors adopt AR, VR, even MR technologies for their projects. With 5G connectivities to support large BIM files and live video streaming, Microsoft HoloLens can demonstrate and visualize the planned building works within the limited working space at site without the removal of the ceiling. Integrate BIM model with actually work at site. It provides a clear visualization. This remote inspection provides real-time information for stakeholders meetings at their locations. A DOM is a remotely pilot aircraft technology development. Contractors and engineers can use DOMs to collect real-time data about projects and understand what is happening on their site. Project managers and site inspectors can also use DOM technology to conduct job site inspection, identify the potential hazard risks on their work site from different angles. And this no need to go to the site physically. A DOM can also fly into a hard-to-reach areas. This will reduce potential accidents and improve the job site safety. If using DOM and laser scanner to capture real-world environments, architects and provide extremely detailed interiors and exterior views of the project site. This helps them to make accurate design decisions in response to the environment. In addition, DOM can integrate BIM models with virtual reality by rendering the BIM model as a VR space. It can create a 3D walkthrough experience for project managers, workers, and other stakeholders to review and discuss. This makes detecting crashing design elements and improving wayfinding easier before commencing site work. The combination of laser scan, BIM software, and VR allows professionals to analyze the captured data for making better decisions and to help implement the design that meets client's goal. The storm video photos. DOM takes photograph of the entire construction site from the air. The result may be slightly less detailed than those of interior reality capture because they work typically with photography instead of laser measurement. Despite of this, once the photos are gathered by flying the intricate patterns over a project, they are combined together by using a photogrammetry method to create 3D models. Some objects, such as the trees, power lines, can also be captured. This important information can be used for design process, such as by doing a cut and fill analysis of a site. Architects and engineers may discover that less soil needs to be moved on large projects, ultimately saving on cost. The Access Controlled Record System, we call it ACRS, combines with MIC contract, AI technology, and contactless biometric identification. All site staff only scan their faces without touching anything when in and out of the site. All related data has been generated and recorded automatically. All data will find very precise, even under varying light conditions. The data can be used for site staff management, such as used for calculation of overtime pay and workers' attendance. From experience, the gate entry process only from 3 to 5 seconds on average, and the registration only within 30 seconds. Compared to the traditional entry system, the entry time was reduced by 50 to 70%. It is efficient using for human resources management, such as real-time access to site attendance record and workers' information. Through automatic data analysis, it is easier and more accurate for manpower allocation. In terms of health monitoring, all staff need to pass a body temperature screening before entry. The system also performs temperature measurement with accuracies plus or minus 0.03. This This is an automatically wall passing machine working automatically. Remote control. It can use a wall up to 5 meters height above ground level. The quality maintains more even and smoother wall finish compared to manual workmanship, and is capable of working on a wider surface than manual wall plastering. Because this robot machines work automatically and operation remotely, the elimination the risk of the floor rising from the working at height. Okay. The following slide shares some significant functions of a digital construction management system that have been used in one of the third runway projects. Contractors. Okay. This DCM system integrates different technology, including millimeters, GPS, positioning technologies for real-time site management, such as location tracking in plants and equipment, monitoring and movement and performance of the site works, control of asphalt paving workers' roll call apps, etc. Okay, good. This SLAM simultaneous localization and mapping, 3D scanning. This SLAM is an algorithm that views data from mapping system on board sensors such as linear scanner, RGB camera, etc. to trace the tracking movement of site works. Compared with the traditional survey, the project used 3D linear-based SLAM, significantly turned round-trip time saving of the truck for every boat trip. Because of the SLAM 3D scanning system provides an innovation scanning function, so no need to take measurements on each truck, because the waiting time and turning around time of the trucks can be reduced. So fuel usage also reduced. This function, by using mobile apps, foremen can send the taxi location to the DCM platform. When the platform receives the information, it will send the signal to the nearest water browsers to suppress the taxi air automatically. By integrating satellite positioning and AI technology, the DCMs can help to coordinate the traffic at construction site. The system, through AI calculation and it will recommend the most situation vehicle weight. If the DCM detects the problem of the road conditions, such as road accidents or any roadblocks, automatically, the accuracy can be controlled within 2 meters. under the premise of clarifying the ownership of equipment through the management of equipment entry and exit. Project manager can note the historical operation status of all vehicle equipment on the digital map. This can help to troubleshoot and prevent possible failure. These platforms can also quickly show the working status of workers and distribute the day work through task delivery function. The operation status can also be calculated from cloud data record, so the operation efficiency of equipment such as fuel volume, terminal, electricity, etc. can be verified. AI can identify all these and notifies the appropriate departments to follow. Okay, this is part 3. As I mentioned previously, the aging population, lack of labor force in Hong Kong, especially in the construction industry, it will become a serious social problem. In addition, there are a lot of old residential buildings and imbalanced spatial distributions of homes, including job opportunities. In order to tackle these problems, governments like to meet the requirements of the changing world. A lot of challenges need to be focused. Okay, Hong Kong 2030 Plus is a strategy study for updating the spatial development for Hong Kong future. It provides a strategy spatial planning framework for future planning land infrastructure development, shaping the built and nature environment aimed to lead Hong Kong become a livable, competitive, and sustainable city beyond 2030. The 2030 Plus covers a wide range of developments in different sectors and fields. It provides many opportunities, including construction projects and job opportunities. The aim of 2030 includes certify the estimated land shortage, build livable new community, retrofit dense and old urban core, plan new employment nodes, and bring jobs closer to homes, contribute to a climate-ready and biodiverse city, and improve overall connectivities within Hong Kong and the world. You see, this is Harbour Metro policies and Harbour Metro policy. This is a circle, and this top is the Northern Metropolitan formed a major framework of 2030 Plus. Okay, you see that? This is Harbour. Harbour Metropolitan cover the existing metro areas and future artificial island. See this part. Future artificial islands in Central Water. In the existing metro area, a more livable environment is to be achieved through stepping up redevelopment and rehabilitation of the aging buildings, improving the public areas to provide more facility to the community, aimed to thin out the population in the longer term. Economic competitiveness would be further strengthened through consolidating the traditional Central Business District 1 in central and adjoining areas, continuous transforming Kowloon East into a dynamic Central District 2, CBD2, as well as continuous development additional business office outside CBD1 and CBD2. CBD2, CBD1. To meet the long... Okay, you see me this one? This is a Central Water, Hong Kong Island. To meet the long-term development needs, the newly 100 hectares of accommodation artificial islands will be created in the Central Water, this area. With a comprehensive network of transit roads and rails to connect Hong Kong Island, Lofton Island, and the coastal area of Twin Moon benefits not only artificial islands, but also the Northwest New Territories. In June 2021, the Civil Engineering and Development Department and the Planning Department jointly commenced a consultancy agreement called Artificial Islands in the Central Waters Investigation. This plan should be completed within 42 months. The scope of the study comprised a detail of planning and engineering studies for the artificial islands around Khao Yi Zhou. Here's Khao Yi Zhou. It's a Lentil Island, this Hong Kong Island, this is the Lofton part. And a feasibility study on priorities road links, sorry. And the feasibility study on the priority road link and rail links connected to the artificial islands. Okay. This is a future CBD3. This is the future artificial islands. Now it's just only these small islands, and then all the recommendation. The Khao Yi Zhou Artificial Islands project consists of the three, 1, 2, 3, 1 A, B, C, 3 artificial islands separated by a wide-shaped sea channels. These islands provide 119 to 210,000 residential flats to accommodate up to 55,000 people. The development will be based on 15-minute neighborhood concept. It will divide into residential and core commercial districts, offering around 270,000 positions for work. The residential district will occupy 25% area of the whole project. The commercial district will occupy around 100 acres. It will provide 4 million square meters of business buildings. In addition, a 13-kilometer long Hong Kong Island west to Lofton East Lentil link will pass through Island 3C to connect Hong Kong Island and New Territories Lofton without travel via Kowloon. It is scheduled to be completed in year 2033. The government will also construct a 30-kilometer long Hong Kong Island West to Hong Shui Kiu rail link pass through the 3 islands. The links will go through Hong Kong West. The artificial islands, Sunny Bay and Twin Moon East extended to Hong Shui Kiu in northern metropolis. Finally, this rail link will also connect to the impending second stage study of Hong Kong Shenzhen West rail link. Its estimated cost of Hong Kong 580 billion will be spent on the artificial island project. The private and commercial lands on the islands are expected to bring a revenue of Hong Kong 750 billion under a preliminary calculation. The government also predicted the economic activities of the artificial islands could bring about Hong Kong 200 billion in values per year, accounting for 7% of Hong Kong's GDP. Okay. The study profiles, including the environmental impact and the recommendation of islands, the development and the expressway of Hong Kong Islands to northern Lantau. In addition, other major projects such as breakwaters, railway stations, water treatment works, sewage treatment works, etc. are also included in the study. Okay, now, another metro policy. The northern metros covered a few. Cover a few mature new towns were located in the northern part of Hong Kong, and some new development area with a local area of about 13,000 hectares. The northern metropolis, when fully developed, is expected to have up to 926,000 residential units, accommodating a population of about 2.5 million. The northern metropolis encompasses an area of about 30,000 hectares, covering Yunnan and Northern District, including boundary area between Hong Kong and Shenzhen, with 7 boundary control points. Spreading from west to east, the northern metropolis comprises many major development clusters, including transport proposals to enhance the accessibility and interconnectivities. The northern metropolis combines a sizable population with local employment opportunities and extended recreation tourism outlets. It will be redefined the spatial development practice in Hong Kong. These metropolises will also favor locations for the innovation and technology industry. In conclusion, there will be a lot of project opportunities in the near future. Both of the metropolises and the government already announced will go ahead. The adoption of new construction methods and new technologies in the construction industry will become an important trend in Hong Kong. That's all my sharing. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 자, 코로나 이후에 그 당면한 그 인력과 자재 문제를 혁신과 기술로 이제 돌파해 나가는 일이 홍콩과 우리 대한민국과 좀 비슷한 그 방법을 찾았던 것 같습니다. 자, 우리 발표해 주신 프랜치스 첸 회장께 한국 CM협회 배영희 회장께서 감사패를 전달하는 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 감사패 프랜시스 첸 아시아 태평양 PM 연맹 회장 for the presentation Construction Trends in Hong Kong from Project to Technologies for the Advancement of CM in the World. Thank you. 감사합니다. 네, 오늘 준비된 특별 강연과 각국의 주제 발표가 모두 끝났습니다. 5시까지 진행을 완료해야 돼서 우리 진행상 쉬는 시간을 없이 좀 진행한 점 다시 한번 좀 사과 말씀드리고요. 오늘 이 자리에 참석해 주신 여러분들께서 그래도 아주 유익한 시간이 되셨을 거라고 생각합니다. 몇 가지 안내 말씀 올리겠습니다. 내일 오전 10시부터 이 자리에서 특별 강연 그리고 각국 주제 발표 기념 행사와 이벤트 행사가 있습니다. 다시 한번 많은 관심과 참석 부탁드리고요. 그리고 지금 아마 통역기 받으신 거는 반드시 반납해 주셔서 출입 패스와 이렇게 교환해 주시기 바랍니다. 그럼 오늘 장시간 이렇게 자리해 주신 여러분께 다시 한번 감사드리고요. 내일 10시에 다시 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Grab your jacket and your shades. We're taking lead from this big sad